Hi, I'm Jennie Hardin, VP of Brand and Digital Marketing at ezCater, and welcome to ezCater's Lunch Break podcast. In this episode, we're going to continue our conversation about workplace experience trends, this time diving into the topic of work friendships and socialization. So in our most recent report, we surveyed 1,000 workers and learned that today's workers, especially the youngest ones, see the physical workplace as a way to meet friends. And this wasn't just by a small margin, it was huge. 70% of people think it's important to have friendships at work. And it's clear that they crave connection, possibly because of the years spent learning or working remotely. So to talk about friends and the social connections we make at work, I've invited Cathy Lewenberg, CEO of Bevi, a Boston-based beverage and hardware company, to chat with us. So she and Bevi are very familiar with the importance of workplace water cooler conversations and bringing people together. But before we get into that meaty topic, Cathy, please take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Bevi.
Thank you, Jennie. So yes, Cathy Lewenberg. I currently serve as the CEO of Bevi. I've been here almost a year now, and it's been an incredible run. Bevi, as you mentioned, is smart water cooler. We are all about keeping people hydrated. We have lots of healthy beverage solutions you can mix and match and create seltzers and lots of different functional beverages. And our number one purpose is about eliminating single-use plastics. And so we're really working to save the planet.
I love that. And we have a Bevi at ezCater. I love to just get cucumber, sparkling water. It's like my little moment of zen, my spa-like moment in the day, not to mention the other flavor combinations. So I'm a big fan myself. So I'm very excited to have you here. So let's dive into it. So, remote work, like I said, directly impacts the ability to form relationships with colleagues. We found in our report that only 43% of remote employees report having close friends at work, which was a stark contrast to the 68% of on-site and hybrid workers who do. But 7 in 10 folks say that it's important to have friendships at work. And I think you and I have probably both experienced that in our careers, to feel more engaged, collaborative, and eventually more productive. So at Bevi, what have you seen through your research on RTO or even customer anecdotes as a difference between the fully on-site and hybrid workers and how folks are coming together to socialize and form friendships?
I love this question. And I think for me, it's like extra stark just because I'm coming off of a company that was fully remote for the last, 5 years. And so I saw what that was like. And now being able to be in a hybrid setting at Bevi, I'm coming into an office. It's been incredible just to see the relationships that have formed and how powerful that is for the whole team. In my remote world, we would certainly set up the virtual trivia and make your own cocktails and, do the happy hours, but everybody's kind of in their individual space. And I think the really powerful thing I've seen at Bevi is we invest in creating those opportunities to bring people together, to build camaraderie, to build connection. Obviously, that's critically important to the success of the larger company. And so we have lunch twice a week. You should see the popularity of Dumpling Day. I think we ordered 1,200 dumplings just last week, but everybody—
Oh, wow. I love that.
Rallies the crews to come together and just share a meal. And I just love seeing kind of different teams, different generations, different roles kind of sitting together and sharing a meal. We also are really intentional at our monthly all hands. We'll have a happy hour after. Today we have one featuring our seasonal soirees where everybody's dressing up as kind of their favorite seasonal flavor. And then we do an annual retreat. And so about 40% of our workforce does happen to be remote, our sales team and our operations teams who are out in the field. And so we fly everybody in across the country to Cape Cod, and we have an amazing time to bring everybody together and do a lot of that team building and just create those opportunities for the friendships. But the thing that I've seen here that wasn't as easy to replicate at all in the remote setting is the kind of ground swelling of once those friendships are formed, like there's so many grassroots opportunities where employees are getting together. And so we have a cookbook club, and it was a couple employees who said, hey, every month, let's pick a different cookbook. People can kind of sign up and bring in different meals, and then we'll share, a dinner together, or a game night will pop up. Or even recently we have, as summer hit, right? We have lots of commuters and a lot of bike riders. And so some employees organized a bike safety lesson, and then they went on a lunch, bike ride together. And I think by creating those more formal and structured opportunities to connect, it really supports all those kind of impromptu grassroots efforts that are really built kind of strong friendships at the company.
Yeah, it's so interesting, the similarity between Bevi and what we do at ezCater, because similar, when we have our hybrid company meetings, we often do what we call an easy hour after, where we get folks together to kind of hang around in the kitchen. And then just a couple of weeks ago, we also had our kind of annual company offsite in Minnesota where we bring everybody together because we are a mix of a remote hybrid environment as well. And we focused it almost solely on collaboration and connection. So similar to you, creating these big moments where folks can come together around shared interests or even after a work event to foster that connection and friendship, I think is really important. And so, going from those big moments to then talking about some of those more organic and smaller moments. So when we think water cooler, or in my case, when I think Bevi machine, I think water cooler moments. And so I would love to hear kind of how you've seen that modern day water cooler moment or more of those like organic, spontaneous social connections evolve and how Bevi is really the heart of creating some of those moments.
I mean, I love what you just shared, even to kick off, right? You love your cucumber kind of spa-like water. And it's so funny when I meet people and I mention I'm from Bevi, first thing they tell me is, "Oh, I'm a lemon guy," or
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm a peach and mango combo." And it's just so powerful that to bring people together and they like identify as their flavor. And I just know the kitchen is a gathering place, right? And it is an opportunity to bring people together and to collaborate and just have those kind of impromptu conversations. And I think that's one of my most favorite parts about being back in that office space is the amount of like small conversations just about how's your family? How was your vacation? Right?
Mhm.
The things that you would like to take time to maybe dive into in the remote setting, but just don't happen as organically. And so I think that's really the magic of Bevi and kind of drawing people. I always hear about when the lines form when people are all trying to get, we're like, maybe you need another Bevi. But I think just like people gathering around and the conversations that happen. So
Yeah, that's certainly true for us. I find that we have two Bevi machines. So the line of both Bevis is typically a great place to just catch up with somebody that you haven't seen in a while in person, or even chat with somebody that you don't really know and kind of meet that person for the first time. But I love that. So let's focus everyone's favorite topic, Gen Z. They're kind of the focused generation in the media right now. They more than anybody are seeking community at work. And unfortunately, our study found that they're the loneliest generation at work, too. And they're looking to their companies to provide this socialization. So, and 85% of Gen Z say that having friends at work makes them feel more engaged. And our other research we've done has also found that kind of happy hours are less preferable in this day and age. More employees would rather socialize at work, even around lunch, similar to what you're saying with the bike safety example and going on a bike ride, rather than go out at work. So, in your research and through any anecdotes you can provide, have you noticed a difference between Gen Z and older generations when it comes to workplace friendship and socialization? And how are you seeing that community and socialization at work evolve? You touched on it a little bit when you talked about what you do at Bevi, but I'd love to just hear any other kind of thoughts or insights you have.
it's been fascinating kind of seeing the Gen Z come into the workplace. And I always do a welcome kind of intro for all new employees, and on day 2 or 3 of when they start. And I always ask, what brought you to Bevi? And hands down, Gen Z, they talk about the people and
Mm,
like being part of certainly the sustainability mission. And people love being part of, something that's doing good in the world. But it's always about the people they met, the culture, the opportunity to get to be a part of that and kind of have that camaraderie. And it's not, it does come up certainly with all the generations to some extent, but Gen Z, that's by far the number one. And I think just thinking about the different life stages and life moments, right, of different generations, like some of our more seasoned employees, like myself, right? I have 3 kids at home. And so as much as I do want to kind of hang out after hours or during the day, I also need to be kind of super efficient. And the Gen Z, I see them kind of looking for more of those opportunities to get together. They're doing a lot of fun activities.
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we find that as well. I would say we have a handful of Gen Zers on my team, and oftentimes they're the ones, and I love this, they're the ones saying, okay, I'm going into the office this day, come with me, or let's go get lunch together upstairs when ezCater gets delivered. And there's a certain kind of special glue and enthusiasm that they bring from a cultural standpoint because they are craving that socialization and that connection. Maybe more so than similar. I have a 3-year-old at home, so I also have to be super efficient with my time. So maybe more so than the ones of us who are who are trying to be super efficient and balance a number of different things too. So it's really energizing as well. And it's not just Gen Z. Employees of all generations are seeing the office as a vital hub for connection and not just a place for solo work. It's becoming more social. It's less so you come in, you park your stuff, you get your work done 9 to 5 and you leave. Friendships or connections are developed as a result, kind of, are the primary connection point rather than a fringe benefit like maybe they have been in the past. Our data is showing that workers see the workplace as a destination to make connections. And so, what have you noticed about what companies or what Bevi is doing differently with their office spaces to encourage this connection and collaboration and make the workplace a hub in a different way than it has been in the past?
We've spent a lot of time, especially as I mentioned, I've been here just shy of a year now, but I've spent a lot of time trying to learn kind of what goes on in the workplace and the different amenities and how much it's evolved just in the last few years, right? And I would kind of focus on two words: intentionality and flexibility are absolutely critical. And it comes down to creating spaces where people can come together and collaborate. We have a big kind of central area with couches and chairs, and people might have game night there. They'll kind of just take a break during the day. They might do their work there, but it's kind of this central gathering place. And if someone's there, you can go and talk to them and kind of engage and have this fun dialogue. We're also seeing, right, the big giant conference spaces are going away. The cubicles have disappeared almost entirely. If you have a cubicle, we need to change it out. That is not what people are looking for, right? And so we have open workspaces. We do have lots of little conference rooms because we want to make sure people, when they need that space and need to be private and have a call, like they can do that. But this is where it comes down to just really creating a lot of flexibility. We've also seen a focus on kind of creating wellness. So light, like well-lit spaces, greenery. We'll see kind of whether it's green walls. We have a rooftop with a garden upstairs. And so people will go upstairs to, you mentioned people doing that at ezCater for lunch, right? But just these different gathering spaces. It's all about creating flexibility, and depending on what people need, they can kind of go and get that in the workspace.
I love that. Intention and flexibility, both in not only, maybe the work structure, but also in how you're designing your space, how you're creating those moments and those opportunities. That totally resonates with me. And you mentioned well-being. I would love to dig a little bit more into the well-being topic. We did find that 55% of workers wish their employees offered more resources for their well-being. Younger workers, Gen Z particularly, are 35% more likely to say this. So what influence do you think wellness culture has on the future of the workplace experience? You gave a few examples of kind of, offering gardens or offering these respites for people to focus on themselves. What else are you seeing?
Well, Bevi really often goes into the work setting as a hydration solution as part of a health and wellness movement. So that's a lot of, where we see a focus. And I'll just share this quick anecdote, but we've been working on expanding Bevis into universities. And it's been amazing to see the feedback. So talk about Gen Z. As we talk to food and beverage managers, they're saying, wow, we're shocked at the students are using Bevi more than the traditional kind of soda fountain machines. And it's because of that health and wellness movement, particularly with the younger generation, but it's obviously top of mind for everybody. And so we fit really neatly into that sweet spot. Staying hydrated, right, is really important for brain health and like being able to focus. And so that's a big part of kind of the Bevi value prop. But holistically, as companies are thinking about wellness, there's just so many different things they're investing in, right? It's a lot of mental health resources, collaborations with Headspace or Calm to give your employees those resources. It's gym benefits. We have a gym in our office building, right, for ease of use. So people can pop down at any point in the day if they have a break or, pre or post work. We have a collaboration with Whoop. So
another great Boston-based company.
Another Boston-based company. And so where you can really focus on your health and wellness. And so I think, again, and then, certainly flexible PTO. We really just try to give a lot of different options and then let our employees kind of pick and choose what's going to be most meaningful to them, but really trying to understand across the generations, across the different life stages people are in, like what is most meaningful, and then they can kind of take advantage of the right suite for them.
That's great. You're living the flexibility when it comes to providing those wellness resources and connecting with folks' well-being, which is so important. And, you mentioned the sustainability mission of Bevi a few times. I think it's super compelling what you're doing. It's not just simply providing that hydration and wellness to employees and students and others when you think about your retail, the retail part of your business as well. But tell me a little bit about just the sustainability mission and also maybe how it resonated with you, or maybe that was a draw for you to come to Bevi. I'd love to just hear a little bit more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bevi was actually founded less from an idea of, hey, I have this great idea for a water machine, and more from, hey, we have this massive plastic problem, a pollution problem in the world. There's over 8 million tons of plastic that end up in the ocean every year, the vast majority of which are single-use bottles, right? And whether it's water bottles, soda bottles. And so our founders said, how do we solve that? And so we need to disrupt the beverage supply chain and get people thinking differently about how they consume instead of buying those single use bottles and cans or bringing them into the workplace, right? Where we focused, we're going to give them a different solution. And that's where Bevi was born. And so we obviously plug in at the point of pouring, right? We're using your water, we're filtering it, and you can mix and match with different sparkling levels, different flavors, different functional enhancements that you want to bring in. But it was really around changing the way people think about how they consume water and making it really easy to have a delicious, wonderful tasting beverage. It's fully carbonated if you want it fully carbonated or not, but just really allowing you to customize. And so, to really reduce the reliance on the cans and bottles that are sitting in all the kind of refrigerators out there.
That's great. It's amazing when you can start with the sustainability mission and the purpose, and then also blend it with a product that people love and people flock to. I can, again, speak from experience. People literally flock to the Bevi machine throughout the day, myself included. And I think it's a very special thing when you're able to blend those two things together. So kudos to you and the Bevi team, and certainly the founders as well. We've covered a lot. I know you also at Bevi have done a ton of research on return to office. And so I'd love to hear anything we haven't covered or what you are seeing as kind of those top takeaways that you've seen from your research, the themes that, you want to share with our listeners so that they can have top of mind as they think about this future of workplace experience.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to see just the last few years, how things continue to evolve. Currently, based on the latest data in 2024, we saw, because all of our machines are connected, so we can see kind of attendance levels and how people, times of day, days of week, right? People are in the office. A few things to highlight. We are at about 66% attendance levels to what they had been prior to the pandemic. So still very much flexible, but it continues to move in higher attendance levels. We're forecasting about 75% kind of pre-pandemic levels in 2025. And we've been keeping a close eye on it. And I'm sure people continue to see the headlines, right? More mandates going into effect. That's not necessarily surprising, particularly if people aren't sure what's going to happen in the market and there's kind of this comeback into the workplace. I think what a year or two ago were about mandates and bringing people in. I know I would visit offices and there would be, it hadn't been thought through carefully. There'd be people sitting in corners, on their phone doing a call because they were supposed to be in the office that day. But that's a horrible experience, right? And you'd get complaints. And so now there's been a really big pivot to rethink the workplace experience, as we just spoke about, and making sure creating a space, not just forcing people to come back, really making them want to come back because it's such an amazing experience and they have this camaraderie with the team and they're able to kind of thrive during the day. You spend more, hours of the day at work and with your colleagues than you do with your family and friends. And so really making sure you're setting that up to be a successful interaction has been a priority. I think a couple other things to note just on the RTO trends. While people are still not coming in every day, the 9 to 5 is out the window. We're seeing days extended. So the couple days they are coming in the office on average, they're starting earlier, they're leaving later. And so it's really, again, I think just leaning into that idea of being flexible and allowing your employees to kind of make the call on how they work best and what's going to work with their lifestyle and kind of their whole being.
Yeah, definitely. And I think your point around, creating enticements or creating a reason to come to the office, not just mandating it and expecting folks to show up. We talk a lot at ezCater about earning the commute. And so it's not simply about kind of a forced mandate where you come in and the office isn't set up to be engaging or be productive or be collaborative, but how can you earn that commute, whether it's through amenities like Bevi or providing lunch from restaurants, which is obviously near and dear to our heart, but how are you really encouraging and incentivizing people so it doesn't feel just like a slog to go, take the train or take the subway or drive into the city or whatever the case may be. So that flexibility and that engagement is huge as well. That's something we talk about often.
Jennie, I love what you just said in terms of earning the commute. That's probably one of my most kind of prideful moments whenever Bevi goes viral in social and I just see thousands of comments about Bevi's the reason I go to work. I love Bevi. That's why I go in. It's my favorite part of my work experience. And I'm just always shocked. We're a drink machine and we're trying to create fun experiences and engaging experience. But
Right.
It's wonderful when you see people kind of responding that way. And I think there's a lot of different amenities out there that kind of with the right mix can really draw people in and have them thriving in that workspace.
That's right. And it's everybody's got to eat. Everybody's got to drink water. So it's something that everybody can enjoy. Well, Cathy, this was such a great discussion. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I really love what you're doing at Bevi, and it was great to hear your insights about RTO, the culture at Bevi, and what you're seeing kind of as we evolve in this world of workplace friendships and socialization in the workplace experience. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jenny. It was great to spend the
Yeah.
time with you.
Yeah. And so if you're watching us on YouTube or listening on a podcast app, we have links to a number of other resources that you can check out, including the report that we've talked about today, as well as information about Bevi and their great water dispenser systems, the work that they do. So if you'd like to connect with me or get in touch with somebody at ezCater, the information is there too. We welcome you to reach out. So please stay tuned for our next episode where we're going to talk about our favorite topic. You guessed it, food. Of course, we couldn't not have an episode on food. So specifically, we're going to go learn about what people want when it comes to food in the workplace. And we're excited to bring you that next episode. So thanks for being here today, and we'll see you next time.